Hey guys, welcome back. This is the last part of Unit 1.3, World of the Cell. And this is Part 4 notes where we look at anaerobic respiration. And, sorry, give me one moment. All right, sorry. So we're looking at anaerobic respiration. And over on the bottom left, I have another great joke. Yay, science. It's whenever I'm near you, I undergo anaerobic respiration because you take my breath away. All right, so let's get going, shall we? So anaerobic respiration and aerobic respiration are both processes that our cells can do in order to create energy. Now, aerobic respiration requires oxygen, and that's typically what your cell does in the mitochondria when it undergoes cellular respiration. That is a form of aerobic respiration. Glucose in the presence of oxygen work together to create a lot of energy, a lot of ATP molecules. But anaerobic respiration does not require any oxygen, so you're just left with the glucose. Now, thing about this is it doesn't make as much ATP, so it's a very, very little energy output as opposed to aerobic respiration, which has a larger energy output. So if oxygen isn't present for whatever reason, it's not in the environment or the cell is just not getting it, a lot of times we'll talk about fermentation. Fermentation is just a form of anaerobic respiration. But again, without the oxygen, it can't occur in a mitochondria. So it just occurs in the cytoplasm and very, very little ATP, very, very small amount of output. There are two kinds of fermentation we're going to discuss. Now, we're not going to go into big detail about the process, the actual breakdown. We're just going to kind of talk about this a little bit. So alcoholic fermentation is used by yeast and some other microorganisms. And what happens is it's glucose, they break it apart to release the energy, and they store it in the form of just a couple ATP, and then they make certain waste products. The two waste products that they make are ethanol, which is a type of alcohol, and carbon dioxide, so CO2. Now, again, these are waste products for them. Their goal was to feed on the glucose, get energy from it, get rid of what they don't need. And so alcohol and carbon dioxide are then their waste. It's a liquid waste, ethanol, and a gaseous waste, carbon dioxide. Now it's that liquid waste, the ethanol, which is what allows us to sorry, I'm just realizing something. All right, well, I'm just going to assume that. Anyways, so it's this alcoholic fermentation and this liquid waste of ethanol that allows us to make such alcoholic beverages as beer and wine. But it's not just that. We also use alcoholic fermentation to make bread. That carbon dioxide that's created by the yeast is what allows the dough to rise. And when you cut into the bread, then it has that nice fluffy, spongy texture. And you see like all the little pocks and pores and pockets. Those were left over from the carbon dioxide. All right. That's really all we want to talk about for that one. So now let's talk about lactic fermentation. Again, done by some microorganisms, but also our cells will do this when we're exercising. Now, a lot of times when we exercise, you notice you start taking deeper and deeper breaths, and that's because as you are exercising, your muscles need more energy in order to do what you're asking them to do. But it gets to a point where you cannot supply enough oxygen to them. So instead of doing cell respiration, they actually do something else. They switch over to lactic acid fermentation. So what happens is, instead of the mitochondria taking care of this, what your muscle cells will do is they'll take the glucose, they'll break it, they'll release the energy stored in the bonds, use that to make just a few ATP, and then they give off lactate or lactic acid as a waste product. Now, this is actually why you feel the burn when you work out. What that burning sensation is the excess lactic acid that is just sitting on the outside of your cells. It's a waste product. Your cell wants to get rid of it. But right now, your bloodstream is working on just trying to get oxygen where it needs to. It's not going to really do a whole lot of cleaning up your muscle cells until oxygen has been restored. So you feel that burn for a while. And then once you stop exercising, your breathing catches up, returns to normal, all of your cells now have enough oxygen, then your blood cells will take that lactic acid, remove it from your muscle cells, and it'll filter it out and you'll excrete it with your waste. But lactic acid is just the result of you pushing yourself so hard that your muscle cells cannot get enough oxygen to run regular cell respiration. So just, general picture. Glucose, we break it apart, we get a little itty bitty bit of energy, and then some anaerobic bacteria as well as your muscle cells will then go through lactic acid fermentation to create lactic acid or lactate. Others, like yeast or a few other microorganisms, will go through alcohol fermentation and end up creating ethanol and carbon dioxide. Now, some other resources. Where's my little toolbar at the bottom? So first we have a video by me in Science in Pajamas. It is on fermentation. I'm just gonna exit out of that. All right. So we have the fermentation video. Kind of talks about alcoholic versus lactic acid fermentation. And then we also have a few other videos. So we have Few School, what is anaerobic respiration? So it's a nice little summary of it. It's kind of like what we've been talking about. They go into a bit more detail. And then the Amoeba Sisters, a video on fermentation. So I hope this helps you guys to understand everything that we've been discussing and everything that's going on. If you have additional questions, make sure to hit me up in our Classroom or Google Classroom or in email. The link for this Prezi will be posted in the description so you have access to the additional resources. But in the meantime, that's pretty much it, you guys. It's a rather short section. So in the meantime, take care of yourself, stay awesome, stay curious, and most importantly, be safe and healthy. All right, you guys, take care of yourself. Bye-bye.